This is John Young with the Weekend Channels for Weekend Handyman and Weekend Griddle. We're going to be doing a install today of a hood for our 22-inch Blackstone griddle. So we're going to put this on both channels, so I just want to get that out there right away. So what this is the cover for the hood for the 22-inch griddle. Now the 22-inch griddle is one of 17, 22, 28, 36, and a larger, I believe it's going to be like 50 or 60 or 75 feet, I don't know. There's a huge one that's coming out here in 2018. But we went with the 22-inch one, and we'll put links in the description below and such of what we're doing and such. But this needs to be attached to the griddle, and what you're going to need for tools. Now this is a little kind of a difficult part from the standpoint is that there's 4 screws down here, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're on the griddle, and we have to remove those to attach the hood. Well, it's a 5/16 nut that's on the inside, and those are in there pretty tight. You've got a Phillips head on one side, you've got a 5/16 nut on the inside. There's not enough space to get a socket in there. So you're going to need to have either a boxed end wrench. The open end, yes, it could work, but it's a really kind of the nuts and things are kind of really tight in there. So a plier or anything to that effect is not going to work as well as a boxed end would. Or you could have something like this where you don't have the head of the ratchet. You can go and you can get in there and use something, again, 5/16 on the end. So either one will work, and then your Phillips screwdriver, and then you can take those out. And we're just going to kind of do it all right here while you're watching. I'm going to actually take this off. I just set it up there for this part of the video. I already went through and loosened these up, so they're going to come apart much easier now. I can now use the Phillips head. I couldn't use it before. So I wanted to basically make sure that it was going to work like it was supposed to. So we take the four screws out and making sure we don't lose anything, because these are the only 4 we have that are going to hold this back plate on. So there's 2 parts to this installation. Is we're going to take these little screws out and put the hinges on, and then we have our handle that we have to put on also, which there's the handle over on the side over here. Just off camera you can't quite see it. But we're taking out the 4 screws, and we're just going to let that back plate kind of sit there. It's being held in right now by the 4 H burners that are in there. So we're going to bring the hood up, and it's going to be a little bit of a challenge because we're trying to line up 3 holes to get a bolt through. And once we get the 3 lined up and we get the first bolt through, we're just going to put a nut on the nut on the back side, and we're just going to put it on just far enough so it holds, and then we'll demonstrate the other side a little bit easier. But it's like anything else when you're doing multi connections. First one is the most difficult because you're trying to support and balance. Obviously having extra hands in this situation would be ideal, but sometimes you just don't have extra hands. And you want to make sure you get this one on with your fingers far enough. If you just barely catch the thread, you're not going to be able to do much, and you could risk the chance of actually stripping the end of that little bolt out. So just putting it on there and turning it on a few times. Now it's secure, and now we'll come to the other side. Since the other one is kind of in place, it'll be a lot easier because we can put the bolt through the top hole. We can line it up with the back panel, and then the back panel we can lift up into place so we can have the bolt coming through all 3 pieces, and then we can snug it up and put some pressure on it so it's all together. We can take our little nut and drop it. It's kind of how these things go. They're just a tiny little 5/16 inch nut, and get it on there. And I've turned it on there done a few revolutions, so it's on there good enough for getting the next ones lined up. Bottom one lined up perfectly, quite easily. So we'll get that nut on there. Sometimes it works better to just hold the nut with your fingertips kind of in place and use the screwdriver on the other side and turn it, and then it will actually catch a little easier. And we'll do our final final bolt here. We'll just do that trick again. That way, if you can feel that it's not lined up properly, you can just back it up a little bit. And then when you feel it goes nice and easy, then you know you have it. So I'm going to use this my little screwdriver with the 5/16 inch. I could use the box end wrench also, either one. And then I'm going to use the Phillips basically to hold, and then I'm going to turn the other one by hand and tighten it up. I'm not going to put any pressure on the Phillips side because Phillips heads, while they can do a lot of things and they can have a lot of pressure, in this configuration I don't want to get them messed up. I want to keep them as clean and pretty as possible. So we're going to use the bolt side as our torque side. And you want to get these fairly snug because this is not something you want to have when you're moving it around as a portable cooking device. You don't want this hood to come off. So now our hood is on. We have a couple of small things we need to do yet. One of which is to put the handle on. Turn it around. The handle is held on by two little bolts that have a Phillips head on them. And I'll show you these in just a second because there's something semi-unusual with these, which we did not have on the others. This is our handle for the hood. That's it. You'll see on the bolts that we have here, they have a little bit of the blue thread lock on that. So when we put this on and secure everything, it will lock in and be good to go. So we just bring the bolt in from the back side. And we should be able to get it started with fingers and make sure it's going in. This is good before it hits that thread lock. And then once it's in to the point, this would be a spot you could use your driver, an electric driver of some cordless driver, but I would recommend just using and hand tightening it because that way you're not going to over tighten it and cause issues. With that thread lock, once it's in there and it's set, it should not work its way out. So you should be good to go, but you want to get it in there so it's snug, but not cranking it where it's actually bending the metal at all. So there it is. Let's put the actual cooking surface on there so you can see it all together. So our hood, our cooking surface lines up in the 4 holes. Where are they? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's our cooking surface. Now we have one last piece. The little grease spot, a little drip catch right down here. That will hook in, and take a look at that. We can be cooking, we can lower the hood down on the griddle, open it up, deal with the food. We're going to keep a little wind off the surface if we need to do that. Or again, we can just put this down. So if you're looking for a way to do pizzas, I think this is going to be fabulous for pizzas. We can make a nice homemade crust on and put it down on the surface, add our toppings, drop this down, cook it for a few minutes, and we are going to have one awesome pizza. I'm pretty excited about that. The next video is the seasoning video. We've got a lot of videos on the 22-inch Blackstone griddle. Check those other ones out as we unboxed and as we assembled the bottom. Now we've assembled the top. And now it's time to season with our flaxseed oil, which is a little bit different than the way a lot of people season this. You got to check that video out. This is John Young from the Weekend Channels, Weekend Handyman and Weekend Griddle.